Cancer. Have you ever wondered why, even though you love so deeply, your heart still feels so heavy, as if unseen shadows are constantly draining your energy? Could it be because there are enemies who never show their faces, yet cling to your soul like iron hooks in the night? Remember this: the universe and God have never abandoned you. Even now, He is quietly loosening each chain, each shadow that has bound you for so many years, and the eighth enemy, the most dangerous one, has already fallen. Do not walk away, for this journey is the key to understanding why the Cancer heart always carries unnamed wounds. And now, come with me, step into the first doorway where enemy number one, guilt, has begun to be uprooted. Cancer, can you hear that faint vibration inside your chest, like a distant drumbeat awakening, something that has been asleep for far too long? The universe whispers, the first of the 8 shadows has begun to crumble, pulled out at the place, root, and it is not something outside of you. It is a hidden thorn, long embedded in your heart. Its name is guilt. Guilt. It may sound like awareness, like conscience, like humility, but for Cancer, it is not just a gentle reminder. It has become a heavy cloak you've carried since long ago. Do you remember how many times in the past you shouldered blame for things that never belonged to you? Family discord, a loved one's sadness, the tension in a relationship, each like a stone you silently placed in your backpack, walking through life with shoulders growing heavier and heavier. You mistook compassion for duty. You thought again and again, if I endure, if I stay silent, if I apologize, then peace will come. But Cancer, that was never true peace. It was only the silence of a soul in chains. In the ancient scriptures, truth is likened to the sun. Though clouds may cover it, its light remains. The guilt you have carried is not truth. It is only passing clouds. Yet you believed it was the Sunday. God never wished for you to live beneath the weight of mistakes that were never yours. He has seen everything, known everything. He knows the countless times you bowed your head, the countless times you kept your lips closed, the countless times you wept in the dark. And today He is cutting each invisible cord that has bound your heart. I remember a woman in her 50s who told me that throughout her childhood, she always believed she was the reason her family broke apart when her parents divorced. The little girl inside whispered, "It's my fault. Maybe I wasn't good enough. Maybe I wasn't smart enough." She grew up believing she was undeserving of love, so whenever someone left her, she turned the blame inward, tormenting herself. Only when she heard these words, "It was never you. I saw it all. It was never your fault," did her tears finally fall soft as spring rain, yet releasing the weight of an entire lifetime. Cancer, the lesson here is this: you do not need to carry burdens that were never yours. Guilt is not the key that opens heaven's gates. It is the wall that keeps your soul from freedom. Forgiveness is not only for others, it is for yourself, for the child within you, for the years bound by the lie that you must carry the pain of others. Pause for a moment. Place your hand over your chest. Do you feel your breath becoming lighter, as though a stone has just fallen from your shoulders? Can you sense the space within you expanding like a sky clearing after clouds? That is the sign guilt is leaving. And each time you press the like button, do not see it as just a small gesture on a screen. See it as a sacred seal etched upon your journey. I release what is not mine. I protect my energy. Write it below as an ancient ritual so your soul is witnessed, so God knows you have chosen to let go. Because when guilt falls away, not only are you freed, but those around you are healed too. But listen closely, for behind this release lies another shadow more subtle, deeper. An enemy Cancer often mistakes for virtue. I am speaking of self-diminishment, the second enemy awaiting your recognition. Cancer, can you feel it? After guilt has fallen, after you have released the burdens that were never yours, a new door opens. Yet behind that door, another shadow lingers, quieter, more persistent. It is not a heavy stone pressing upon your shoulders, but an invisible rope you tie around your own chest, and its name is self-diminishment. How many times have you stepped back, giving others the light, while your own heart longed to speak? How many times did you reach for your dream only to whisper to yourself, "Not now. Perhaps I'm unworthy"? I have witnessed many cancer souls in their 50 seconds, 60 seconds, who live their whole lives for others. They sacrifice their youth, their dreams, even the smallest joys of their own, just to keep peace, just to make others smile. And then one day, they looked back and realized they had vanished into someone else's life, their soul drifting like the last leaf of autumn. In the teachings of God, He never told you you must forget yourself to prove your love. God only longs for you to love with truth in your heart and to cherish yourself as a sacred part of His divine creation. Lowering yourself is not humility. It is betrayal of your own soul, and nothing cuts deeper than realizing the betrayer is you. A cancer woman once confided to me she had lived half her life just to please her husband, just to please her children. In her youth, she dreamed of painting, yet she folded her brushes, tucked them into a corner of the cabinet, whispering, "Later, later." The children grew, the husband grew busier, she herself fell ill, only to discover that later never arrives. In her eyes, I saw a vast emptiness, not because she had lost others, but because she had lost herself. Yet when she heard the words, "God sees you," you no longer need to diminish yourself. You are worthy of stepping into the light. Her eyes shone again, like a child rediscovering the forgotten brush. Cancer, the lesson for you here is this: love others, but never let your soul live in exile. True love does not ask you to disappear. The ones who truly need you will never demand you stand behind the light. They will walk with you. And you know, each time you choose yourself, the universe claps in silence and God smiles, for He created you not to shrink, but to radiate. Try breathing deeply. Do you feel it? Your body longs to rise, no longer curling inward. Close your eyes and whisper, "I honor myself. I no longer deny my soul." Then write below in the comments, "I choose myself with love." Do not see it as mere words, but as a sacred ritual, the engraving of your soul into the sands of time. Each word you leave is another step closer to freedom. And the moment you lift your head, you will see from this act of self-betrayal, another shadow emerges. It is the one that has made you silent countless times, swallowing the truth in your heart, afraid to break the fragile thing called peace. Cancer, it is time to face the third enemy, the fear of conflict. Cancer, have you noticed every time you prepare to speak from your heart, a whisper rises within? Don't say it. If you do, they will leave, they will grow angry, they will no longer love you. And so you remain silent. You smile instead of voicing your pain. You nod instead of daring to say no. That is not gentleness, Cancer. That is fear of conflict, the third enemy that has shadowed your soul for so long. You thought silence was peace, but in truth, it was only a counterfeit peace. A sky that looks calm while beneath it, a storm churns deep inside. Each time you deny your voice, a crack forms in your heart. Through the years, the cracks multiply, becoming hollows too deep to fill. You once believed avoiding arguments would preserve love, but love does not endure through forced silence. It survives only with truth and courage. Scripture teaches silence at the wrong time is deception, and God never asked you to stay mute to keep someone near. He has seen every time you turned away to swallow your tears, every time you smiled to comfort others while your soul fractured. He knows you thought yourself selfish for speaking, but remember, speaking truth is not starting war. It is liberation, for truth is light, and light never harms. It only reveals, so darkness has nowhere left to hide. I once sat with an American woman in her 50 seconds. She told me that, through decades of marriage, she had never dared to speak her true voice. Each time she wished to object, she feared her husband's anger. Each time she wanted to refuse, she feared her children's sorrow. And so she chose silence. But that silence became a prison, erasing the sound of her own voice. One day she heard the message, "You do not need to sacrifice truth to keep love. You have the right to speak, to breathe." She said that, from that day on, she dared to say no for the first time in years. Tears fell, but they were tears of release. Cancer. The lesson here is this: truth does not kill love. It only dissolves the illusion of it. If someone leaves because you are honest, then that love was never truly yours. Setting boundaries, speaking truth, these are not acts to hurt anyone, but to save your heart from destroying itself. God gave you a tender heart, but He also gave you a voice, and that voice is the small flame you must protect. Pause for a moment, breathe deeply. Can you hear it? In your chest, the heartbeat grows stronger, clearer. That is your soul saying, "I am ready to live true." Right below, as if making an ancient vow, I choose peace, not silence. I honor my voice. I honor my soul. And with every like you give, see it as a candle lit in the sacred temple of your heart, where God watches and smiles. Because in the moment you dare to speak your truth, a new energy will flood in no longer counterfeit peace, but real serenity. No longer secret storms, but clear skies after rain. And it is then, when you have learned to face conflict, that another illusion will surface, an unseen enemy that has made you trust too freely, seeing light where only darkness dwelled. This is the fourth enemy, idealizing others. Cancer. How many times have you looked at someone with your clear eyes and seen in them an angel? How many times have you believed that if you just loved enough, they would change, they would return, it would become the light you hoped for? Yet, your soul knows the truth. It was never light, only illusion. And this fourth enemy is subtle and sweet, the idealization of others. It is like gazing at a muddy river after a storm, yet straining to see emerald waters. In your mind, you want to believe that beneath the silt there is clarity, if only you wait. And so you wait year after year, only to find yourself standing in the mire, your feet sinking heavier each day. You once thought, if I forgive again, perhaps they will change. If I trust one more time, maybe a miracle will come. But Cancer, not everyone wishes to change. Not everyone yearns for healing the way you do. In the old teachings, the enlightened ones said, to see as it is, that is freedom. To see falsely, that is bondage. And so with God, He never asked you to gild lies into gold. He loves you for your faith and goodness. But He also whispers, do not let your faith become chains. Let love be light, but do not let it blind you. For true love needs no magnifying. It is radiant in its own essence. I remember a five-year-old American man. He shared that all his life, he had chosen those who never valued him. He saw in them a future, a family, a transformation that never arrived. He endured, forgave, waited only to receive the repetition of broken promises and betrayals. And then one day he realized what he loved was not the person before him, but the dream he had painted of them, a beautiful dream, but not real. When he finally said, I have waited enough, he described it as an iceberg melting in his chest, painful yet freeing. Cancer, the lesson for you here is this. See people as they are, not as you wish them to be. Forgiveness is not meant to repeat the circle of pain, but to free you from illusion. For if you keep handing your heart to a figure you yourself have created, your soul will remain starved within a dream that never blossoms. Try sitting still, closing your eyes, recalling the last time you believed someone would change, but they never did. How did your heart tremble then? Was it like a shattered mirror, light scattering into countless fragments? Now is the time to gather those fragments, not to glue back an old dream, but to form a new picture, a real picture, the picture of the present. And in this very moment, if you long to set yourself free, place your hand upon your chest and breathe deeply. Then whisper, "I see with clarity. I release illusions. I honor the truth." Write those words below as a sacred ritual, and every like you give becomes a beam of light, carving a new belief within you that you are worthy of real love, not an empty dream. You will see once the veil of idealization falls, everything becomes clear at first, too bright, too raw, but then you realize true light has never betrayed you. It has only waited for you to open your eyes and look straight at it. And when you dare to face the truth, your soul will grow stronger, wiser, freer. Yet Cancer, from the idealization of others, you will discover another silent thief that has been gnawing at you all this time. A habit that makes you say yes when your heart screams no. An invisible enemy that turns your love into exhaustion. This is the absence of boundaries enemy 5. And when this enemy reveals itself, your journey will go deeper, fiercer. Are you ready to let me tell you more, Cancer? Do you remember the feeling when your heart longed to shout no, yet your lips trembled and still released a yes just to keep others pleased? That is not because you did not know what you wanted, but because within you lives an invisible enemy, one that has kept you from building a fence around your soul. The fifth enemy, the lack of boundaries. It is like a river with no banks, allowing anyone to step in, scoop the water, stir it, then walk away, leaving only weary whirlpools behind. You have given away time, energy, sleep, even your peace, just to spare others from sadness. You have flung open the doors of your heart, letting everyone come and go, trampling the fields of your dreams. And then you ask yourself, why am I always drained? Why does my heart feel extinguished like a candle burning bright for others but fading in its own darkness? Scripture says, the one who keeps precepts, who keeps boundaries, keeps their own life, and God never intended for you to become an endless sacrifice. He loves your gentleness, but He also wants you to understand that love was never meant for others to take your flesh and blood without returning a single warmth. Boundaries are not selfishness, dear Cancer. They are the prayer you whisper to yourself. I too am worthy of love. I too am worthy of protection. I remember a woman in her 60 seconds from California telling me that for years she lived as a shadow in her family. Whoever needed her, she was there. Whoever asked, she nodded. Her money, her strength, her joy all poured out until one birthday she sat alone before a small cake, no wishes, no one remembered. She said her heart felt strangled, not because others forgot, but because she realized she had forgotten herself first. The moment she dared to light the candle to bless herself, she wept, but they were tears of a soul breaking free from its cage, whispering to itself, I too deserve love. Cancer, try it now. Place your hand on your chest, inhale deeply and whisper, I choose love with boundaries. I say yes with truth and no with courage. Write those words in the comments. Let them be a sacred seal you leave for yourself. And every like you give, see it as a wave of light rising into a firm embankment, protecting the river of your soul. For you must know this, Cancer. Only when you learn to set boundaries can true love find its way to you. Those who do not cherish you will drift away, and that is a blessing. Those who remain are the souls God has sent to share both dawn and darkness with you. And you will see each time you dare to say enough, the space within you grows brighter, lighter, like a meadow cleansed after the storm. But the journey is not yet over. When the river banks of your soul begin to appear, another enemy whispers, making you doubt the holiest gift you have. It makes you ask again and again, am I just dreaming, imagining, being too sensitive? That is the sixth enemy, the doubt of intuition. And if you wish to understand why God is cutting away this doubt at its root to return to you the luminous eyes of your soul, then stay, for what you are about to hear will change the way you see yourself forever. Cancer. Have you ever felt your heart whisper something so clear only for another voice in your mind to rise? Don't believe it. Maybe it's just imagination. Maybe it's just oversensitivity. And so you stayed silent, dismissing your intuition until the truth came and pierced you to the bone for not listening to the call of your soul. That is the sixth enemy, doubting your intuition. This doubt is not loud. It is like a thin mist slipping into your dreams, into those moments when a shiver runs through you. You see the signs, you sense strange vibrations in the air, you hear the heartbeat of truth just before it happens. Yet how many times have you denied it, telling yourself you were too sensitive, that you must obey cold reason to be more logical, more mature? How many times have you chosen silence only to later realize everything unfolded exactly as your soul once knew? Scripture has taught there are things the ear does not hear, the eye does not see, but the heart already knows. And God, He has never abandoned you on this path. He placed a lamp within you, your intuition. It is not vague, not hallucination. It is the sacred language God and the universe planted in your heart to guard you from wrong doors. You may not see Him with your eyes, but every time you feel something is not right, it is His hand on your shoulder telling you to pause. I recall a man in his 50 seconds telling me all his life he heard a quiet call inside. Many times before signing contracts, his heart raced a strange wind inside him, but he brushed it aside, thinking it was only anxiety. And indeed, as he once sensed, everything collapsed. Yet in another moment, he followed his intuition, refused a deal that seemed so promising. A year later, he realized he had avoided a financial storm. He laughed and said, "Perhaps it was God, not me." Cancer, your lesson is this: your intuition is not weakness, but the key God placed within you to guide your steps. Do not let the world make you doubt this gift, because you are one of the rare souls who can hear the whispers of the universe most clearly. Trust the rhythm of your own heart, for it is not only the beat of life, but also the gentle knocking of heaven upon your door. Try closing your eyes, take a deep breath. Do you feel it? How the breath suddenly becomes purer, brighter. That is when the fog of doubt begins to fade. Place your hand upon your chest and softly speak, "I trust my inner light. I trust the voice of God within me." Then write it down in the comments to turn the whisper into a vow, and every like you give, see it as a star being lit in the firmament of your soul. For in the very moment you trust your intuition, the world around you begins to shift. The path becomes clearer, your steps steadier, and your soul no longer trembles. You realize you were never walking alone, not once. The universe has always walked beside you. God has always watched, and your intuition is the golden thread binding your heart to Him. But dear Cancer, listen a layer deeper. For in doubting your intuition, another enemy has quietly entered like a rope, tying you to someone else. It whispers, "If they leave, you will not survive. Without them, you are nothing." This is the seventh enemy, emotional dependency. And here you face one of the greatest lessons of the soul: true love never makes you a prisoner. Cancer. Do you remember how many times your heart trembled just because one person turned away, as if the whole world collapsed from one silence, one door closing? That is because within your soul, the seventh enemy has long dwelt in secret. It carries no sword, no chain, but it is more dangerous than them all. It is emotional dependency. It whispers, "Without them, you are nothing. If they go, you will be empty." And you believed it. You changed yourself to keep love. You wore masks, spoke words you didn't want to, accepted wounds your soul had no time to heal. You thought love was survival, the only breath. But the truth is, love is not a rope to bind you. Real love is freedom. In God's words, "He who believes in me will never be alone." He never wished for you to be the prisoner of another's heart. He saw each sleepless night you feared abandonment. Each moment you asked yourself, "If I'm not enough, will they leave?" But Cancer, the love God placed within you, is not for begging, not for trembling to keep scraps of affection. It is for you to remember you are whole, even in silence, even when standing alone. I remember a woman in her 52nds in New York who after her divorce said words that silenced me. "I once thought if he left me, I would not survive. But when he truly left, I realized I still breathed, I still laughed, I still had me." That was the moment she found herself again, after years of believing she needed another to exist. And you know it was God who held her hand, showing her that true love does not live in someone else, but within her own heart. Cancer, your lesson is this: do not let your soul be chained by another's presence or absence. You can love without begging. You can give without trading away your freedom. You do not need to do everything to keep love, because true love never abandons you. It only changes form from one person to another, but its origin always begins within you, from the light God breathed into Cancer's soul since the dawn of time. Try breathing slowly. Do you hear it? In this stillness, a warm heartbeat remains. It is proof you still exist, still loved, still whole. Place your hand upon your chest and whisper, "I release emotional chains. I am whole. I am free." Write it down below as a vow of the soul. And every like you give, see it as a cosmic key handed to you, unlocking link by link the chains that bound your heart. And then Cancer, when you release emotional dependency, you will rise like a river that has rediscovered its own source. No longer anxious about who stays or leaves, you will know you can walk, stand, and shine on your own. And something wondrous will happen in that independence. True love will find you a love, not out of need, but out of desire. A love that binds nothing, yet chooses to remain. But don't leave yet, for there remains one last enemy, the strongest of all, that made you shrink, made you tremble before the very light and power God placed within your soul. And I will tell you this: when the eighth enemy, the fear of your own strength, falls, your entire inner world will blaze with light, and that is the eternal turning point. Are you ready to see your true light? Cancer, Cancer, have you ever felt afraid of your own light, as if in your heart there was a great flame enough to warm the world, yet each time it rose you rushed to hide it, afraid someone would step back, afraid your light would make others uncomfortable? This is the eighth enemy, the fear of your own power. This enemy is unlike the others. It does not come from outside, nor carry a form. It lives within you, hidden in every breath, every glance, every choice left unmade. It whispers, "If you are too strong, you will lose love. If you are too bright, you will be hated. If you are too different, you will be cast out." And so you chose to shrink, to walk slower, to dim the fire burning in your chest. But Cancer, do you not know? This strength is the sacred gift God and the universe gave you when you stepped into this world. In the ancient scripture it is said, "A lamp is not placed under the bed, but on a stand, to give light to the whole house." God never created you to be a faint flicker. He gave you deep intuition, boundless compassion, infinite creativity, to shine, not to hide. The universe is cutting through fearful whispers, so you may understand your strength harms no one. On the contrary, it is light that heals the world. I remember a woman in her 60 seconds in Texas. She said, "All my life, I lived smaller than I was. I feared if I succeeded, my husband would feel small. If I voiced my dreams, my children would call me selfish." She buried it all in silence. But then, after hearing a message, "Your light is not meant to be hidden, but to radiate like a prayer," she returned to her old passion, singing. She told me the first time she dared sing before others, her heart shook violently, but then came a release, as if she returned to herself. And in that very moment, she felt God embrace her, whispering, "You have found yourself again." Cancer, your lesson here is clear. Stop fearing your light. You were not born to hide, but to guide. Your strength is not a sentence, but a blessing. It does not hurt others. It illuminates lost souls. And if someone cannot bear your light, it is not your fault. It is simply that they are not yet ready for truth. Pause, take a deep breath. Do you feel it? The air clear your body, wanting to rise, your shoulders naturally open. That is when the final chain, the eighth enemy, shatters under your light. Place your hand upon your chest and whisper, "I am not afraid of my power. My light is a gift from God." Then write it below. Do not think it is just words. It is a soul ritual, the final key you place into destiny's door. And let each like you give become a sacred mark, carving your name in the heavens so the universe knows you are ready. Cancer, imagine the day you wake and are no longer afraid of your own light. What will you do first? Will you sing? Will you write? Will you love as though never hurt? Imagine if you no longer believed yourself small. How wide would this world become? For when the fear of your power falls, your soul is not only freed, it is reborn. You no longer walk in shadow. You walk as a lamp, lighting the way for others, and that light also heals you. And here, Cancer, the journey of 8 enemies comes to a close. But you know endings are not the end. At this moment, another gate opens, leading you into a new chapter. In the next video, you will see what truly awaits you after breaking every chain, a new destiny, a new love, a rebirth of God and the universe already wrote for your soul. Are you ready to step through Cancer? Cancer, pause, breathe deeply. Do you feel it? Today, the air is different. The 8 energetic enemies that once clung to your soul have fallen away. The invisible cords cut gently by God and the universe. In your heart now, there is no weight, only an open sky, pure and serene. You no longer live in guilt, no longer bow yourself low, no longer fear conflict, no longer blindly idealize. You have learned to raise boundaries, to trust intuition again, to break free from dependence, and most of all, you no longer tremble before your own light. You are liberated. You have returned to the pure, radiant soul God created. From here, each day will be a small festival of love, of gratitude, of freedom. You will love without fearing loss, give without fearing emptiness, and stand firm like a shining river in the dawn. Thank you for staying, for walking this journey to its very end. I wish you a gentle yet mighty Cancer, to always find happiness, wholeness, and the love worthy of your vast heart.